Hey folks, I'm Mark, and welcome to my workshop. Everything here starts with a question. So today I begin the build for Dr. Theo. I'm going to break him into a few different pieces. The first will be the electronics that control the lighting sequence for his eyes and his mouth. The second will be the shell, his actual body, the face panels, the panels that make up his face, and then a compartment to hold all those electronics. And third will be just a set of bits and bobs that will attach at the end. So he's got something that looks kind of like ears. He's got a couple little feet so he can stand up on a table without rolling over and so forth. So today we'll be building that body. So the actual shell and the face panels and that compartment to hold the electronics. So now the question is, what do I build him out of? My first thought in how to build a body was to find a piece of 8-inch HVAC ductwork, something like this, and just cut a slice out of it. But my problem is, I really only have two really ways to make that cut. One is a pair of tin snips, and the other one is a hacksaw. And both of them, I'm pretty certain, would leave a really ragged edge that I'd have to file down just so I'm not cutting myself every time I'm working with it. So I kept looking around, and my wife came up with this brilliant idea of using this a food cutter, which I'm just going to call a cookie cutter, because that's kind of what it looks like. Just a giant one. It's an 8-inch, supposed to be an 8-inch round food cutter. And it doesn't have to be perfectly round. I think this will be good enough. Now the layers of his face, I need a way to give some depth, and I need to be able to see through them, so you can see all of the layers, even if they're as they're stacked up. So I bought this piece of clear acrylic, and I'm going to end up cutting out 4 circles out of this, and there should be enough material here that I can get all 4, and then also have some left over at the end because there's some other miscellaneous little pieces that I need to cut. So that'll give the rigidity for the facial layers. So now I need a way to actually print or somehow get some design, some color into that, because he's got some colored shapes on his face, at least on a couple of the layers. So I briefly played around with printing or painting those on right onto the acrylic. And while that might work, that would probably take a long time, and it probably wouldn't turn out as well as I'd hoped. Then I found there's clear stickers that you can run through a laser printer. So, in theory, if I can get those images into some kind of a image editing tool, get them to the right size, I can print them right onto these stickers, take the stickers and put it on the circular pieces of acrylic, trim off the excess, and now I've got colored discs that I can put in for his face. So the final piece of this puzzle is how to give it some depth. The pieces of acrylic are not right next to each other. There's actually space, a little bit of space in between them, so you actually get some depth, and you can see but you can still see all the layers. So for that, I figured I could print off just some simple rings on my 3D printer, and so I can sandwich acrylic, a ring, acrylic, a ring, and so on, and just kind of stack it up as much as I need. I can't math, apparently. As you can see, it is nowhere near a snug fit. So I went back to the math and I figured out what I screwed up, and I printed off now a slightly larger one. Unfortunately, it's not fitting into the ring at all. So cutting acrylic is a new thing for me, so I also went out and purchased a glass cutting kit. The glass cutter was at least good enough to score the acrylic, so I could see where the circle was supposed to be. But it wasn't good enough to actually cut through the acrylic with any speed at all. So then I grabbed my utility knife and I started scoring around, just going over that line over and over and over again, and that was taking forever. So then I grabbed my coping saw, which works. It works a lot faster. But my coping saw has a very limited depth. I can cut out around the outside, but once I start getting into the inner portions, there's a limit. I ended up stopping about here, and I really can't go any further. So I needed a better tool, and I got one. This is my new scroll saw. Okay, so I got two really nice ones. They both fit. They both have a nice edge. And as I was cutting out, actually those are the first and third that I was cutting out. The second one, I was made a complete circle around it. I got within 2 millimeters. 2 millimeters of being done. And it did this to me. But I think I could salvage it, because one of these has to have some cutouts for his eyes and his mouth, and then there's a it looks like there's a slice that's taking out of his forehead. So the very front one actually has some cutouts. So I think what I can do is I can just use this as the starter, basically, for one of the cutouts, and I can salvage this one. So I've still got a little bit of cleanup to do on this one. I've got to get some the edges sanded down a little bit more, because it's a little bit too snug of a fit in some parts. But I've got my 3.
When I was first looking at this, I was breaking down the layers into broke the face down into 4 layers. The first one, the very front one, is a piece of clear acrylic that has some cutouts to it. So you can see it around, showing the cutouts around his eyes and his cheeks and his mouth and so on. The next layer back was another piece of clear acrylic that had the integrated circuits and the eyes and everything mounted to them. And then the one behind that, or I should say that my original thought was that there were 2 layers behind that had the shapes painted on them. But the more I look at it, it looks like there might only be one, and then the background would be like a white or a light gray or something like that. So I'm going to try one and see how that looks. Now the one that I've got comes from an image that I grabbed off of zealot.com, and I'll put a link in the show notes for this. So the first thing I'll need to do is clean this up, actually take this and turn it into a transparent image so that when I print it onto the sticker, all you see are the shapes, you don't see the white. And then I can transfer that to the acrylic for the actual structural piece.
So this was the one that had the chip taken out of it. This is going to be the very front. So we'll put him in first. We'll kind of just friction fit that guy in there. Then we've got the really thick spacer, and we need to leave enough room between the first and second layers to put on all the electronics. The fake electronics, if you will. So this spacer will go in next. And we've got a clear layer, which will actually have the integrated circuits, the ICs, and the capacitors, and whatnot. So I'll go in here. All right, so there's that. Then we'll have one of the thin spacers. It'll be interesting to see how well this looks once it's all put together, to see if that thin spacer is actually a little too thin or not. Then we've got our face. So put him sticker side facing forward. And then followed by the white signboard. This will be the back, and then back here will be all the electronics. So there is Theo. The beginnings. Now, something else that I'm going to have to print, a couple things. Theo's got kind of a bezel that runs around the outside, both back and front, so I'll have to print those up. Get this piece, this front layer cut out, and then there are spaces here for his eyes, here, the integrated circuits that run here. He's got kind of like an eyebrow, and then there's lights all around. So there's a lot more detail to work into this, but he's starting to take shape.
Thank you for joining me for this first of several build videos for Dr. Theopolis. I think despite the twists and turns in this video, I think Dr. Theo is starting to emerge. So in the next video, I'm going to try to finish out the facial details and the body details for Dr. Theo. See you next time.
Oh, you gotta be kidding me!